Just kidding. Good morning, my dogs. It is 6:31. It is May 1st. Congratulations. You made it to another month in 2025. Have some damn gratitude. Anyway, what an interesting April, huh? This is why we have multiple accounts. This is why we have multiple ways to approach the market and why we get up every day and we get prepared, right? Basically, we talk about all the different accounts, buying in your 401k every single month. So this way the media doesn't talk you out of buying long term, because long term the S&P does win. Yes, usually 7 to 10%. A year cost average for 30. So if you put money in every month with a 401k, yes, you could make a lot of money and retire very well, or maybe even put together a college education fund with the 529 for your kids. Yes, if you're a young parent, start that 529 early. I waited till 3, unfortunately, for Chase. So it's a little underfunded. And anyway, the blood in the street account has been put to work twice in this year. Usually it's 4 tiers. So it's 2 tiers in, it's 18 times in. And now we'll probably be, if we can get into this area and we hold this, on a close, I will be reducing the blood in the street account by half and having 1 tier left back to highs. But if we don't go to highs, I'll have a lot of firepower again. So that works. So instead of being like an analyst, like who, talking about getting out of the market and markets in turmoil down into this area or down into here, we put 2 tiers to work. If we went lower, I would add 4 tiers instead 2. And then we talk about active and swing accounts, right? When the S&P is above the 8 and 21 day, you try and be long. When it's below it, you try and be tactical. So this way, when you have a big down move like this, you're not sucking wind, or here, sucking wind below the 8 day. And then you're not also shorting all the way up because everyone says we're going into a recession. So anyway, here we are today. It's a new month. It's a new you. Figure out how you did last month. Hopefully you made some decent money. Hopefully, you're feeling good about your decisions. And if you're not, you got to say it's my fault, right? As soon as you say it's my fault, maybe you can make changes, and if you did really well, congratulations, continue to make some progress. As far as yesterday is concerned, it was definitely a tricky day. I actually I kind of thought, it could start to move lower, after, a huge move from the low in April to the higher low. And I got stopped out of a bunch of things in the first half hour. And then I put a few things back on and I, made some money back, and I should be making some good money today. If you went out fully short and shorted all day yesterday, you don't follow my process, right? We look at prior lows. We look to see who has control. And yesterday, the SPYs took back 543.70, took back 545.02, took back 548. It's 3 lows that the sellers had a chance to reject price out. It didn't. And now all of a sudden, you take a look at the SPYs, and here we are at 561 and change, right into the 200 day, right there. So at this point, usually when you get to the 200-day first kiss, it's better to trim longs, especially when you're coming from 481 to 561.50. That's probably a spot. Doesn't mean you could blindly short there. Maybe sell a little premium above it. If you're looking to hedge, maybe go out 2 weeks and buy some puts if you think, that all of a sudden we're going to head lower, that it was window dressing yesterday. Obviously Meta, which we did say if you were going to take anything into earnings, actually it was Microsoft because nobody was talking about it. But anyway, so this is a good spot to probably trim into. Doesn't mean you could just blindly sell it or get short. That there is a chance it could work its way all the way up to 576. What happens if Amazon and Apple are better than feared? So just don't blindly short, but again, you have to really, know what you're doing in this tape and keep the friggin' TV off. Look what happened last night. All I know is last night I get a phone call from 10 different people. Did you see that Elon's leaving Tesla? I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, Wall Street Journal says that, that Musk's board is going to kick him out. I'm like, he just said he's leaving Doge. Or he's going to 1 day a week because he got rid of 90% of the fraud. And now all of a sudden he's leaving Tesla. Why would he do that? I'm like, he's like, I'm selling it on Robinhood. I'm like, first of all, you shouldn't be trading all night. You should be sleeping, getting ready for the next day. I'm like, I'm sure he's going to run a retraction, blah, 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 blah. P.S., a lot of people are like, oh, all right, Red Dog, I'm buying then. Well, if you bought last night, the stock was down $10, $12, $14, and now it's up too. Congratulations, you made good money. If you chilled out and just held through, that's good too. It's probably one of my bigger positions right now anyway. But again, it's not about being first with news. It's about being reliable. It's about being truthful. Like 20 different agencies ran that news release that Tesla was getting kicked out or whatever by the board, and I don't see one of them taking those news down. You can go to CNBC.com; it's still there. It's like, what about the retraction? What about, hey, it's not true, And what about whatever? I don't care. I'm a little upset today, but anyway, it's fine. It's good. Chill out, Red Dog. Okay, so let's go to Tesla first. Tesla held the moving averages. It was a little pain in the ass yesterday, but after first adjusting, I got back involved, and we'll see if there's enough people short now thinking they were going to make all this money because of the fake news, and we'll see maybe it gets above what is this 285, and then next level it's got to get above is 295 to see 325. So we'll see. But I'm glad I have friends out there that listen to the Red Dog. I have a big community, even Redler Premium and people from the Alpha team. Like, what's going on, Red Dog? I'm like, guys, do not sell your Tesla overnight. If anything, I would be bidding for it. But whatever, that's that. So here we are. Again, a lot of things moving. I've been telling you what I think is a go-to list stock. Dash is a go-to list stock, and I'm long Dash. Power plays is long Dash. Chances are we're going to see 201 or more. A lot of you guys have been staying with Palantir. Palantir is also a power play stock. We got involved in here. Look at that above the 8-day moving average. You don't short stocks above the 8-day moving average. You try and be long them. I don't care what the news flow says. I am not in Palantir, but it's fine. We also send out a different power play. Guess what? We're in gold puts. A week ago, Mike is like, do you want to make a huge call about gold being at a top? I'm like, I'm not about calls. I'm like, I did make a gold bold call. You could actually, you could YouTube it with me and Mark Haynes back in 2008 when it was 850. I said it was going to 15. I'm just saying technically we called the top and put in an outside bearish engulfing day. We played 3 different sets of puts. And, this bearish engulfing day tells me that, we have a short-term top. I'm not calling it a historic top. I don't want the gold bugs, knocking on my door, yelling at me. And I had nothing to do. I don't control the gold market. I just show technical candlesticks that mean something to me versus the news. And this was an Allen top. I called my friend Petey. I told him, you better sell some of your gold, go into your war chest and sell it. I called my brother who's been buying physical gold for a decade. I'm like, now's the time to take some off. And I bought some puts and people sold. And then even into here, this was kind of tough. I bought puts for Friday, the 300s, and we'll see where it goes. Where's the GLD now? GLD is down 7. Hey, maybe we made some money in power plays. Maybe I got you out of some. Maybe, who knows? You didn't just chase it. Whatever it is, very nice. And on the flip side, we're long IBIT. Not so bad, right? IBIT, if you remember a bunch of weeks ago, I was like, hey guys, into here, let's see if it, decouples from, being just a risk trade and could be something different. And then it turned into, it went up when the market was down, which was good. And then it went up when the market went up, which was good. And now here we did hold in here. And it looks like we're, going to be taking out 54.54 on our way to 56.20, on our way to 99,000 with Bitcoin. So with that being said, hopefully you're making some money there. A lot of guys that want to trade equities, are trading Mr. Mr. looks pretty good. Could see 398. I'd keep your eyes on GME from some of my friends out there. They think they're going to come out and talk about how much Bitcoin that they've been buying down here. They announced that they were going to be not buying Bitcoin when Bitcoin was below 80,000. So let's hope they bought a ton, because now Bitcoin itself is at 98,000. So if this can get above 28 and a quarter, it's got some room. Technically, it looks fine. So anyway, if you look where Bitcoin is now, let's take a gander. A gander. What's a gander? A gander is a look. I mean, it's starting to get above this, 95,000 on its way to 99,000. So if you're in Bitcoin, if you got in here, this was your money trade. We were hyper focused on it there. Even on dog bites, Michael is sending out, guys, this could be a money trade. And hopefully it was. And now it's a manager trade. I stayed through it, through this little choppiness. What it do? Hey, look at that, the 8-day moving average. I think I wrote a book about the 8-day moving average. What? You want to be long when it's above it, because this way there's momentum. Anyway, on its way to 99,000, so we'll see. Let's see what some of my dogs are saying around the world. Who do we got here? Let's go. You guys could see. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, you could make some comments. Gold bugs knocking on the door, right? They're They're eating away the wood in my house. Good morning, Tesla. Thanks for the level head commentary, Tesla and Dash. There you go, Blair. Blair, thank you for being part of the Alpha team. Blair is one of the guys been around for a while. He gives great commentary. The beauty of the Alpha team, which all of you guys could test the open house next week, is that besides me, you have about 500 prop traders from around the world, giving what they think, and everyone thinks together, and 1,000 eyeballs are better than 2. Anyway, with that being said, Bob is not ready yet. Okay. Morning, Scotty Gids. Crowds at all-time highs. Yes, crowd's been doing good. Robinhood, that moved up. Remember, I said it moved up the go-to list. So maybe some of you guys took that into earnings with options. Reddit, Apple, Amazon thoughts. You know what? I'm in Reddit options. So yesterday, that was one thing I did well is, with the move down in Meta, I had a Reddit call spread on for earnings. I actually just bought back the short side. So now I'm coming in with straight calls for Reddit. Meta's up a decent amount. If this can get above 123, I still think it gets towards 130 or maybe even more. This was 230. Meta came out and obviously proved or said that, the advertising market isn't dead. Look where Meta is. Meta's up 32. We did say it can get to 580 to 590, and there you go. If you took that call spread, the 570 by 590, you're doing really well. I didn't take mine. Instead, I have Meta, which I was like, Reddit. I'm like, if Reddit, here, where's Reddit? RDDT. I'm like, if Meta's down, okay, Meta's down, then maybe we could buy more Reddit. If Meta's up, we could take our straight calls in Reddit and then turn it into a call spread and have the action fund it. So anyway, so far so good. You got to figure out how you want to strategize and interact every single day. So if Reddit can get above 123 before earnings tonight, we'll see how much room there is. I know there's a pretty big short interest there. Anyway, get it done. Mikey Pags, thank you for your power plays and IBIT. I love it. What up, Scotty? We said hello to Scotty Gibbs. Jack Kamen. Jack Kamen's a market pro, has been in there for a while. I still owe you a Red Dog sandwich, don't I? Good morning and happy 1st May from the UK. Congrats to all those in Meta and Microsoft and others. In my opinion, Nvidia is back on an upward trajectory. I will say, remember I said yesterday that Nvidia could be the key to the day in both ways. First, it got below 105.75. Why was that important? Because that was the inside range. But what was more important is that Nvidia reclaimed that 105.75. So if you were short semis, you had to cover, right? The power of reclaiming levels. So here's Nvidia. Got below 105.73, and what did it do? It reclaimed it. So if you thought that it was going to fall back down and retest the lows all the way down here, guess what? It put a low in a 104.08, reclaimed 105.73, reclaimed 107.44, and closed very, very well. So this told you not to be short Nvidia because it reclaimed the levels. The sellers didn't have power, and now it's up $4. So chances are I can see 115-ish or so. But either which way, if you think about what market mechanics have to happen to give you clues on the day and the day ahead, the power of reclaiming levels. Who has control at those spots? If the sellers had control, they would never have let the spies reclaim those 3 levels and Nvidia reclaim 105.73. These are tactics and things to live by. Anyway, whatever. You're nervous about 112, 113? Okay. Jensen's back? Sure. What's up, Richard Judge? I appreciate that. Anyway, so that's that. By the way, for those of you tuned into my 25-20, I'm feeling good. It's May. We've been on this little plan since January 6th. I weighed 195. I'm like, I'm going to cut out beer and French fries, which I haven't had in 2025. And we're going to work out every day, get our mind right, and do it together. Congratulations if you guys subscribe to Red Dog Mindset. By the way, it's a lot more than just 25-20. It's whiteboard weekends, it's education, it's performance, it's mindset. And, for those of you who get value out of the 630 Club since 2020, I would subscribe to the 25-20 before the 630 Club goes behind a new situation. But anyway, that's that. So subscribe. What is it, $10 a month to keep the lights on? Anyway. So with that said, Daniel Lyons, good morning. First timer here. Before we get all giddy, some say Amazon and Apple could both slip in earnings for the tariffs. Okay, so then Listen, I get it. The way the you know, Tuesday they screwed up the sentiment, right? Because SMCI was lower and Snap was lower and GDP was lower, and the market absorbed it yesterday. So that's why today, people are off sides and we're up. So no one's getting giddy. If you're long, trim some. If you're looking for a strategic short, maybe see what happens here near the 200 day. Then you have the 100 day. These are your three levels now. 561, 567, 576. No one's getting giddy. We're getting planned here, my dogs. Okay. Maybe you could trim some into 561. And then if you get a high, you could see what doesn't hold up and what's being pushed with the new flows for May, as well as, if people are short. So yes, you could potentially fade this open the same way yesterday after the first half hour, you should have been buying depending on what's going on. So yeah, no one gets giddy. We get planned. That's what we do. Anyway, what's up, Bobby? I saw you eating celery instead of fries with my red dog sandwich. Yeah, I haven't had French fries. I used to love French fries. I still love French fries. I haven't had French fries in 2025. But I have my red dog sandwich. Small sacrifices. Gorgeous red dog sandwich. Me and Chase hanging out watching the Knicks. But he had fries and I had celery. That's fine. I said you could have bread only if it's on a sandwich. Same way if you go out to dinner with four couples, you don't need to eat the bread before you have dinner. You can still go out and have a steak, and you don't need the potatoes. You can have broccoli with it. Small sacrifices, gets rid of calories, gets rid of carbs, and then you're not fat daddy at the beach. But you know that, Bobby. I have a little, I can't give up all of liquor, just beer and wine for now, because I'm not going to have a tequila with a splash of soda and then jalapenos and lime for lunch. Anyway, ASTS ready to move? I don't know. I hope so. I have so many options in this thing. It's such a pain in the ass. At some point, you would think it gets above 25.20 and goes, but at this point, I don't know what it needs. It needs some kind of news, some kind of something. That's not sacrifice. For me, it's everyone has their own sacrifices. For me, it's sacrifice. And I went from 195. I'm hovering on 180. Now I'm going to take it up one more notch for May. So when I May and I'm on Memorial Day weekend, I'm at 177, which was the goal. If you make promises to yourself, that's how you build self-esteem. If you say you're going to do something and do it, you build your reputation with yourself. That's how your whole mind gets right. So anyway, everyone has their own things that they want to focus on. So just put it on paper and do it. Nope. Amazon and Apple thought. I guess Amazon's going to be, kind of borrowing from earnings tonight. 192 to 197 is some resistance. So if you look at Amazon right now, what's it up? It's up 6. It's right into resistance. This play just got a lot harder. So I'm not going to be taking Amazon, and I'm not going to be taking Apple. Apple's lower because, one of their guys did some insider trading or whatever they did. So maybe Apple is better than Amazon because it's down today, and you could buy. Let's see, what would I buy for Apple if you wanted a call spread? I don't know, maybe you do like a 215 by 225. That's pretty realistic, that if it's better than feared, that might happen. But it's not as battered and bruised as Meta. If you remember Meta, Meta from where it was at, 740 all the way down, to me, I was like, we could see probably 591 into this area. So you could do a 570, 590 call spread if you want to take Meta. That was the strategic plan, as me as the chief strategic officer of T3 Live. Anyway, so that had room. So 590 is still right here, and look how far off the highs it is. So now, if you don't have any Meta and you don't have any Microsoft, what we're going to have is a big pro earnings gap. So you'll get to see what that is, and then you'll see whether or not you want to put a swing trade long versus that. So your risk is defined, and maybe it starts working out. Google didn't really give you that. Google still, people don't believe in it. Google finally did a red dog reversal yesterday. Gapped up. I took Google into numbers, a nice call spread. You got to be a friggin' surgeon to make money there. And now finally, a little bit of a red dog reversal. I actually bought, after losing on some options. I'm not going to, make it like I made $1 gazillion. I bought the 162 halves for next week. So hopefully people say, hey, Google actually had a decent report. Who cares that they didn't give guidance? Maybe it starts working its way higher. So this little red dog reversal yesterday, this is the exact definition of a red dog reversal, by the way. 4 down days, gets below a prior low, which was 157.52, reclaimed it. You buy versus that low, and then you hold for a little follow through. So if you just followed the Red Dog reversal, you're up $1.93 in Google. Take your tactical money. Anyway, now at 6:51, I got to get going. Cooler heads always prevail. It's a new month. It's a new you. If you didn't have a great April, look back and understand why. If you did, continue to work on it. Stay level-headed. Don't get over your skis. We'll see what happens into the 200-day. First kiss usually is a trim. And then if it hangs here and goes through it, it turns into a squeeze. That's that. And good day today. Every day above ground is a good day. Have some gratitude and celebrate some small wins and stop looking over your shoulder.